Did any of you catch how we began the gospel this morning? Where did Jesus meet the woman? Who was here? Who heard? Where did Jesus meet the woman? At a well. Whose well? Jacob's well. And it said, if you look in the bulletin, it was near the field that Jacob gave his son Joseph. Now that's a nice coincidence, because today we get to the part in the story of the fathers of the people of Israel where we talk about Joseph. We're kind of leaving Jacob behind. Although it is worth noting, well, no, we probably shouldn't waste time. If you ever see in the news anything about Nablus in Palestine, that's where this was. Nablus is the modern pronunciation of the name Neapolis, the new city, which is the name that was given to this city of Samaria in this area. Anyway, beside the point. So here's the story. Remember, Jacob had 12 sons. 6, if I count right, yes, 6 from Leah, the older sister, 2 from Leah's servant, 2 from Rachel's servant, and 2 from Rachel. And the first son of Rachel was named Joseph. So that's what you need to be caught up. So it says, now, Israel, Jacob, loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age. He was the son of the wife he loved most. So he made him a technicolor coat of many colors. Doesn't say technicolor in the Bible. And when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all of them, they hated him, and they wouldn't speak anything nice to him. So they didn't get along. And Joseph dreamed a dream that made it worse. And he told it to his brothers, and they hated him still more. And he said, well, this is the dream I had. So listen. See, we were all binding sheaves in the field. We were taking the grain and tying it together. And my sheaf arose. It stood up. And your sheaves stood around it. And they all bowed down to mine. And his brothers said, so you're saying you're going to be better than the rest of us? You're going to be in charge, little man? Yeah. We don't like that very much. So they hated him still more for his dreams. And then he dreams another dream. You'd think he'd learn to be quiet about his dreams. You think he was quiet? Nope. Next dream. He says, so I dreamed a dream, and the sun and the moon and the 11 stars were all bowing down to me. I don't know how a star bows, but apparently it did. And he told it to his brothers and to his father. And his father rebuked him and said, what is this dream you have dreamed? Shall I and your mother and all your brothers indeed come to bow ourselves down to you? And his brothers envied him. But his father watched and thought about the saying. And then his brothers are so mad, look what they do. Well, first, his brothers are all out herding the sheep far away. And Jacob decides to send Joseph to them. They're far away. So Joseph comes to them, and when they see him coming from far off, even before he got there, they conspired against him to kill him. They did not like their little brother. And they said, the dreamer, he's coming. So they're deciding they're going to kill him, and then they'll say, look, there was an animal got him. And it wasn't our fault. We just found his body. We found his coat. It was all bloody. It was very ugly, very sad. And Reuben, the oldest brother, heard it. And he thought, that's too far. Yes, he's a pest. He's a pill. He's a little bit full of himself. But we shouldn't kill him. That wouldn't be right. So he said, let's not kill him, but let's throw him in a well. And then, when a bunch of traders come by, let's sell him to them. And that'll get him far away, and we don't have to worry about his stupid dreams anymore. So this is what they do. And then Joseph ends up, he's sold into slavery, and he ends up in Egypt. So that's the story of Joseph. Now, not to give anything away, but he goes into Egypt, and because he's there, everyone's life is going to be saved because there's going to be a famine and they'll need food and so forth. But we'll talk more about Egypt next time. Hang on. But I want to think about this. Because why did his brothers hate him? Because he thought he was better than them. Would they have hated him any less if he didn't think he was better? He just was better? I don't think so. And this is something that we kind of have a problem with, all of us, right? If you have a big brother and a baby brother, that's going to be okay while the baby's small and can't really do much. But once the big brother is older and the younger brother starts to look like really good at things, he's probably going to start being irritated, especially if there's like 20 years between the oldest and the youngest. That can be a problem. Because we like to think that the order of things is never going to change. If I'm in charge now, I'll always be in charge, right? And it goes the same for brothers and sisters as it does for parents and children, right? That doesn't mean if you're a kid, you're going to be better than your older brother. Not to pick on the two of you specifically. It also doesn't mean you won't. You don't know. And if you're a parent and you have a child, it doesn't mean you don't know whether your child won't grow up to be smarter, richer, stronger, better than you. As a good parent, you kind of hope that they do. As a child, you certainly shouldn't be trying to compete with your parents. The point that I think we need to take from this is everyone has their own path. Everybody has their own calling. Everybody has their own talents. And if we're jealous of each other, whether we're jealous as siblings or across the generations, we're only going to cause trouble. God willing, we don't throw anybody in a well and then sell them into slavery. I would really, really hope not. But we need to keep in mind, every human being that we are blessed to see in the course of our life, every human being around us, the smaller or the younger, the older, the shorter, where's Christian? The taller. We don't know how we're all going to measure up to each other in 10 years, in 15 years, in 20 years. What we are called to do is not be like Joseph and his brothers and beat on each other, compete, and try to take each other down, but to recognize that we need one another. That when we are at peace with each other, the different talents, the different capacities, the different interests that we have, they support each other. We are called to lay aside competition, to lay aside resentment, to lay aside pride, and to love one another and to serve Christ. Joseph and his brothers figure this out eventually. It takes a while. We'll get there the next few weeks. In the meantime, think about it. Remember, if you look at each other with anger and envy and competition, it can go very bad places. If you look at one another with love, with patience, with a recognition that you're different people, that's a good thing. That you may have talents that the other doesn't, but they have talents that you don't have. To recognize it, to accept it, to support one another, and to walk in love. This is what we are called to, whether we are 3 years old or 300 years old. If anyone gets to be 300, tell me. I want to know the secret. All right, let's stand up and take communion.